Blumenfeld, Middle East analyst and senior fellow at Johns Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies. She previously served as a senior policy advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Great to have you with us, Laura. That report we've been hearing, multiple reports today, essentially laying bare how Saturday's attack by Hamas came about, of course, how it was so unexpected as well. Are we any clearer as to understanding what went wrong in terms of intelligence failures here?
Well, I mean, there'll be plenty of time for an autopsy on Israel's intelligence services. I think there are three broad trends, though, we can point to. The first one I would say is about mindset. You know, there's seeing, but there's also perceiving. There's dots and connecting the dots. The day after Saturday's attack, I called an Israeli defense official and I asked him what happened. And he used the Hebrew word for a light anesthesia. He said it was almost like a twilight sleep. And so I'd say the first thing was mindset. The second thing is internal visions, right? We've been reading about all the internal political trouble in Israel over judicial review, and that division and demoralization degraded their intelligence capabilities. You know, in the United States, we have the saying, all politics are local. Well, in Israel, defense is too. And then the third thing is just a matter of bandwidth. For years now, Israel has been fighting 5 fires with 1 hose. What do I mean? Yes, there's the threat from Gaza, but we've also got rockets coming in from Egypt occasionally, from the Sinai Desert. There's threats from the east, from Tehran. Of course, there's threats along the northern border. So I think all of this together, you know, Israeli defense officials would say to me they stay up all night worrying about the RPGs that are aimed at them from the north, and they were caught asleep in the south.
Fascinating insights there. You mention, you know, a cocktail of different risks here. And with all of those in mind, and also questions about Iran's backing as well, do you see this conflict spreading?
Well, I was thinking about Secretary Blinken's diplomatic offensive. I mean, if President Trump brokered the Abraham Accords, this is a big peace tent that he's offering to our Arab partners, the United States partners in the world. And he's saying, this is a moment of clarity. You're either with us or not. Come into the tent of peace or be on the outside with the forces of chaos. And one thing that I think is fascinating is it is a moment of clarity. The United States is calling it, you know, moral clarity. Israel is saying this isn't business as usual. We're not degrading Hamas. We're eliminating Hamas. But it's all about how it's presented and how it's prosecuted. That was another thing that the secretary made clear yesterday when he stood beside Benjamin Netanyahu. He said, "I come to you as Secretary of State, also stay as a Jew." This was his fine Berliner moment, and I apologize for my pronunciation. But he was saying, I am you, you are me, we are Jews, but I expect you to behave with the same moral code as we're brothers in arms. How you fight this war matters.
And what role do you think, I mean, how successful do you think the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be then in his diplomatic efforts? We've seen him touring those Arab nations in recent days. Do you think his message will be received in Qatar, for example?
That's a great example. So, you know, his itinerary includes Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Some of them are already signed on to the accords and some of them are future partners. And I was impressed, actually, by the public remarks anyway, with the foreign minister of Qatar. You know, he talked about we're here to support Israel and to enlist Qatar facing hostages and also to prevent this conflict from growing wider. And Qatar can help. They can, well, I don't know if they can help with supporting Israel, but they can absolutely help negotiate the release of those hostages. Which for the United States is really priority number 1, as we have American citizens who are trapped and being held hostage.
Something else I want to get your assessment on is that draft resolution circulated by Russia at a closed-door meeting at the Security Council today calling for a humanitarian ceasefire. What did you make of that action?
Well, I can tell you that when I tried to Google it, that my computer auto-filled Ukraine rather than Gaza. I think the computer knows better than all of us that this is a lot, behind motivating Putin is to sort of create a diversion from the atrocities that are being acted on in Ukraine. I'm waiting for Zelensky to say out loud, although he's certainly thinking to himself, to the world, I'm sure he's thinking, I told you so.
You have served as a senior policy advisor at the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. And I know that this is a huge question that I'm asking. But when we saw Saturday's attacks, what did that make you think of how far we are from ever kind of achieving some resolution to this?
Well, the first reaction, of course, was absolute horror. And it's traumatizing not only for the people who are actually directly suffering, but I think from a psychological point of view, the whole world is at war. Right? You mentioned it a few minutes ago about live streaming the refugees who streaming out of or trying to escape from Gaza. We had live stream homicide right on Saturday. That said, in the crazy upside down world of the Middle East, the greater the war, the better the opportunity, the greater the opportunity for peace.
Laura Blumenfeld, Middle East analyst, senior fellow at Johns Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies. Thanks so much for being with us.